Richard Mabey presents.
Hello, YouTube friends. This is Richard Mabey with Richard Mabey Presents. Um, it's Wednesday, October 4th, 2023, in the morning. So, the next 48 hours, I need to rest. um, I had this serious fluctuation in my heart rate yesterday, going from like 65 beats per minute to 125 beats per minute, like in a flash, while I was going into the tube. So they took me out, gave me a nitroglycerin pill, gave me oxygen, put beta blocker in the vein, and some other meds in the vein that had uh, set up. So um, uh, the I had four nurses, and they're just all four of them were wonderful at Waterman. Um, so I decided to catch up on some reading, watch some Gunsmoke episodes, maybe one or two Bonanza episodes. But one of the things I've been meaning to do and is catch up on uh, Green Arrow, and specifically this issue here, Green Arrow 73 from April 1993. Um, this comic book is in mint condition, and 0332. It's 30 years old. Uh, Actually, April, so it's over 30 years old, mint condition. And here's the amazing thing: I got this in the 50-cent bin at one of Joe Peace's comic book shows in Wearsdale, but 50 cents and a 30-year-old comic book. Now, you can get quite a few, or Green Arrow is a lot easier to find in the 50-cent boxes than Batman or Spider-Man. So I got this Green Arrow here to read. But in the back, there's this ad for a Bridget Fonda movie, Point of No Return. And it got me to thinking, you know, Bridget Fonda seems to have fallen off the face of the earth. It's kind of an interesting thing. I always like going back to reading comic books from the 80s and 90s, because they tend to have ads for movies, as opposed to, like, in the 60s and 70s, they had ads for models and anthills and these little gadgets and gizmos that never seem to work, or that you could make $1 million selling seeds. But this is an ad: Fire in the Sky movie, alien abduction, November 5th, 1975. Just like, motion picture. This is a series premiere, Time Tracks, Lorimar Productions, which their first show they were produced was The Waltons, and then they produced Dallas and Falcon Crest. But here's the Lorimar Warner Brothers. So a lot of movie ads for the 90s. Ooh, what's this? Subscribe to DC Comics and save money. Save $1.50 on the first 12 issue subscription you order. Save $2 on every 12 issue subscription after that. Of course, it's academic. It's 30 years ago. It's academic, you know. Now, this is this issue sold at comic book stores and newsstands for $1.75. It is $1.75. And then in Canada for $2 2.25. So I think Green Arrow has got to be the single most underrated comic book hero in the DC universe, or one of the. Let me see. I'd written some notes here on Green Arrow. I'm actually kind of I used to read. Well, Green Arrow didn't. And I don't think Green Arrow had his own comic book in the 60s, but they would feature him in like World's Finest and like the second story, you know, World's Finest, and a few other comic book titles. I want to check something out here. Green Arrow first appeared in a comic book, DC comic called More Fun Comics number 73 in November of 1941. So he's been around a long time. He was created by Mort Weisinger and designed by George Papp. I don't know what that means. I think that means that Mort Weisinger created Green Arrow and George Papp refined him. That's what I think it means. Anyway, Green Arrow's real name is Oliver Queen, a wealthy businessman and owner of Queen Industries, a well-known celebrity in Star City, which I believe was close to Seattle, or was the fictional Seattle. Marvel used real cities, and DC used fictional cities that were modeled after real life cities. Partly inspired by Robin Hood, Green Arrow is an archer who uses his skills to fight crime in his home cities of Star City and Seattle, as well as alongside his fellow superheroes as a member of the Justice League of America. So, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this comic book today, and I need to rest. I need to do. There said you need to do 3 things: rest, rest, and rest. So, but I really like the artwork in this comic book. Here's there's Green Arrow here, or rather as Oliver Stone. I remember he was kind of a little more of a hip, modern, almost not a hippie, but a beatnik, you know. I remember in around 1965, there was a phrase, actually it was 63. I was 9 years old, and there was a phrase of, in the summer of 63, I was 9, and my birthday's in September, but kind of that green Oliver Stone was sort of a beatnik, you know, because he had blonde hair and the goatee. There's some great artwork in this book, and you know the funny thing is, like, Green Arrow would focus as much on Green Arrow as Oliver Stone. And what's the Spin Doctors? Tower Records. If you feel that, Spin Doctors here, an ad for Spin Doctors. I guess for their record or their tour or something like that. They fell off the face of the earth. This is the old trick of DC comic books. The title of this story is Trigger, and it's part 1. So they did this like they would do like 3 parts or 4 parts. So you get so now, like, if you buy the comic book in the 50-cent bin, so this is number 73, you say, oh no, how do you get out of the trap? It's like I gotta find 74, Green Arrow 74, to find out how he got out of the trap. Let me see here. Here's Oliver Stone as Green Arrow. Let me see. Ooh, Nightfall. This is where Batman was. Bane was this big kind of macho wrestler monster that crippled. This is when Nightfall first began in 1993. I don't know why they did that. But they crippled Batman. See, Nightfall. It was kind of a I think it was kind of a silly thing to do. This is the one thing about Green Arrow is that they would subplot it, and then you would go maybe 6 or 7 pages, and you wouldn't see one block of Green Arrow. It would be like they sort of like would go off on a tangent. But this is a full page drawing here, and not a lot of. Well, I'm looking forward to reading this comic book today. Wow, I've gone through 8 or 9 pages and no drawings. What's this icon? New ongoing series milestone. A brother from another planet and a young woman with a serious attitude. Together they'll show the world what it means to be a hero. This is a brand new superhero icon. I have never. I don't know what it's about. First time I've seen this comic book. I have to check that out. And here you see, like, it's sort of like, corruption in Star City. And Green Arrow was a lot of social commentary. Like Batman, he wants to get the Joker, or Superman's fighting off Lex Luthor. And but Green Arrow, it was kind of subtle. There's this corruption factor in Star City, and so Oliver Stone is as valid, as important as Green Arrow. if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like the storyline would focus on um, it would focus on Oliver Stone as much as it focused on Green Arrow. If that, what's this? A man who saved the world. News time honors the memory of. Oh, this is where they killed off Superman. Dan Rather has a quote here. We can no longer say, let Superman do it. The quest for truth and justice must be our quest, not singly as vigilantes, but together as the great people Superman hoped we would be. Dan Rather, anchor and managing editor, CBS News. So, Dan Rather. So when they killed off Superman, Dan Rather had a quote. Yeah, it was 1993 was a weird, strange year. Batman got crippled, broke his back, and they killed Superman and somehow brought him back. Let me see. Here's where they leave off. And Seattle police. I like it. They're gonna shoot Green Arrow or something. And here's the classic thing: firefight. So, you know, they leave you hanging. This is the letters. You know, like Sherwood Forest. So they would call it Sherwood Forum. So they weren't shy about the that Green Arrow was inspired by Robin Hood, just by this letters page, Sherwood Forum. You know, let's see here. Wow, 2 pages. 2 pages of letters. And that's about a number 8 font. Wow, they got a lot of letters for Green Acres. I said Green Arrow. A lot of letters there. What's this? Subscribe to DC. DC Universe and Luther fills the void. This is with the death of Superman. So they had this page, DC Universe, and gave you updates on what's happening in other comic books in the DC Universe. So I'm looking forward to reading this one today. I did it again, Green Acres. I got Eddie Albert on. I got the whole, was it Eva Gabor, and you know, the whole routine, the whole cast of Looney Kazoonie characters on Green Acres. I'm thinking about Green Acres. Green Arrow, 73, April 1993. So looking forward to reading this one today. So I'll read this today. And I've got about 6 or 7 Green Arrows that I haven't read. So I need to catch up on the character, and most of them from the 90s, you know. So I love this cover, though. It's just a great cover. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this comic book. So I'm going to just take it easy today. I'll tell you, those nurses were very emphatic. They said, you know, you need to rest for 48 hours. So at least 48 hours. So I don't know what it was. the blue dye, or going to the tunnel, or whatever it was. And then my heart was going like lub dub, 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 lub dub. So I was grateful that they were so calm and collected in the midst of this incident I had. And I was getting chest pains, and they put the nitroglycerin under my tongue. The one nurse says, "Open your mouth," and she says, "Lift your tongue," and throws the nitroglycerin tablet. She said, "Don't chew it." And then they were putting this meds in the intravenous, and it was kind of a strange thing. But they did, after my heart went into some kind of normalcy, they did put me back in the tunnel. So it was crazy. I still have I'm not out of the woods yet with these cardiac tests. I still have quite a few to go through. So see how that goes. I confess I'm a little scared. Probably have to do some kind of surgery on my heart. My aortic valve is in really bad shape, and my tricuspid valve is in bad shape. Calcification factor, where both valves are very rigid and not very flexible, and when they close, like they don't meet, the flaps do not meet. There's a space, and actually they don't go completely parallel. There's so much calcification that they don't have that flexibility to come all the way up. So like constantly, like the atrium and the ventricles do not always get the chance to fill up 100%. So see what happens. You know what I mean? What are you gonna do? Such life ain't fair, you're not always dealt four aces. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna close. So stay happy, stay positive, stay healthy. This is Richard Mabey, signing off.